April in the wonderful city of Newton. It is great to be here on a beautiful spring day to celebrate April as Organ Donation Month in the city of Newton. My name is Matt Boger. I represent the federally designated organ procurement organization. It is our job each and every day to help save and enhance lives through organ transplantation. And we want to specifically thank the state who plays an important role in this process. The Massachusetts Department of Public Health has a fantastic campaign going on right now and over the past year to encourage people to say yes and register as organ donors. This website, mass.gov/organ donor, you can register as an organ and tissue donor any time of day. You can also register when you go into the RMV to get your driver's license, ID, or real ID and check the yes box. The state plays an important role in this process in that 98% of all people who register here in Massachusetts and throughout the country register at the DMV, so we thank them for their wonderful work. We're here at the fantastic City Hall in Newton to share stories of individuals who've been personally touched by organ donation. I'm so pleased to introduce Eileen Sullivan, who's here to share her story. Eileen, thank you for your time.
Thank you. My story actually begins in early 1980s when I became a nurse. I never imagined that within less than 10 years, I would become a patient who would be given less than a year to live. But that's exactly what happened to me. I had been working as a nurse for a few years, and I had a medical workup, and it included a chest x-ray. And my chest x-ray came back abnormal, and the doctors were surprised because I was living a regular, normal life, working full-time, and I had no symptoms, no cough or shortness of breath, and no family history of any respiratory problems. So fast forward a few years, I marry, and a few years later, in late 1989, I delivered a healthy baby girl to term. But it was at that time in the delivery room where I became short of breath for the very first time. Throughout the 80s, the doctors kept an eye on my lung function studies, and by the time my daughter was born, I was less than half of what I should have been. I needed oxygen to function, and life was very difficult with a newborn. There were no medical treatments at the time for my disease, and my disease was known as pulmonary fibrosis. I had permanent destruction of lung tissue with no known cause. My only hope was a lung transplant. So when my daughter was a year and a half, I received a single lung transplant. Another gentleman received the other lung at another facility at the same time I was transplanted. I did very well. I did so well that 2 years later, I delivered a healthy baby boy to term. My son is the first baby born to a lung transplant patient in the world. Both of my children have 100% lung function, and they are marathon runners. I'd love to say that that was the end of my story, but unfortunately, at my 5-year transplant anniversary, I suddenly, after experiencing a bout of bronchitis, had shortness of breath and really a decline in my lung function. I was found to be an acute rejection. I spent all of 1996 rejecting that lung. It was very difficult to do even the minor tasks like brushing your teeth. Finally, in early 1997, I received a repeat lung transplant. I am here today because 2 donors said yes to donation. They and their families agreed to donate their loved ones' organs, and every day I'm thankful for them. I just celebrated my 25th anniversary of my lung transplant. My children are now active, grown, independent adults, and my husband and I have this year we'll celebrate 35 years of marriage. So I wouldn't be here today without my donors, and they are my heroes. They said yes to donation. So I'm here today. My message is that organ donations work, and they can work very well. Thank you.
Thank you, Eileen. Really appreciate that. And 25 years and 32 years marriage? That's impressive. 35 years! Had 3 more years to that. Wonderful. I do want to recognize Paul Hicks, who's a great resident of Newton and is a manager at NEDS and does a fantastic job, has worked for our organization for 23 years. So that's also to be celebrated. So Paul, thank you for being here in your community where you pay taxes to this wonderful city and all you do for our organization as well. Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce another volunteer. We've got so many people touched by organ donation. Today, there's over 106,000 individuals in the United States waiting for a life-saving transplant. In New England, that's over 5,000 individuals today waiting for that miraculous call. This idea of having the heart on your license, the ability to help save an individual's lives, is so important. I do want to make sure it is understood that organ donation is very, very, very rare. It does not happen often. In fact, you're more likely to need a transplant than to become an organ donor. So the idea of registering provides that idea of hope. I also want to identify that you can register as an organ and tissue donor at any age. 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and even 90 years old. Liz will talk about this. She always does such a good job about that. But do not limit yourself. Make yourself an opportunity to help save an individual's lives. We have Mike Murphy here to share his story. And Mike, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you for having me. Back in 1975, I had a sister that was a nurse practitioner and contracted a virus in her line of work. And as a result of that, she lost both of her kidneys. Well, I was fortunate or unfortunate, depending on how you look at it, enough to be chosen to donate a kidney to my sister. And back in 1975, we were among the first sibling-to-sibling donor recipients in Massachusetts. Back about 7 years ago, I was working in Florida for the government, ended up contracting the virus, and in myself, I went into kidney failure. And consequently, I needed a kidney transplant myself. And that was accomplished some 7 years ago. I received a kidney from a deceased donor, and I have lived a successful life since then. I have no complaints, and I had a good life. And that's because somebody was willing to be generous enough to donate a kidney to me. And it goes to show that not only do you save a life by donating an organ, but when you donate an organ to somebody, their life may be a continuance of success to treat and help other people. It's a wonderful gift to give. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks so much. And actually, in a previous career, you were the chief of the fire department. So thank you for your wonderful work to support communities. I'm so pleased now to introduce our brand new volunteer, Chris from Lexington. Chris, thank you so much for sharing your story today.
Thank you. So I was born with a genetic kidney disease, polycystic kidney disease, but I didn't know about it until I was in my 20s. And at the time I was diagnosed, they said lots of people live their lives with this, they're fine. Some people aren't. And as the years went by, it turned out I was not one of the ones who was fine. My kidneys began to fail. I'm a mom. I kept going. I worked full time, got the kids to school, came home, took a nap, got back up. But I was not doing well. And I owe my life today to an altruistic donation. An altruistic donation is when somebody donates an organ to somebody they don't know. This is a live donor. And I kickstarted a book from a rabbi who likened it to you're in a water after a shipwreck, and you have 2 life preservers. And you don't need 2 life preservers. And there's somebody over there who doesn't have a life preserver. And so Pam, my donor, was willing to give me one of her life preservers. She found out about my need through a message board that she and my sister were both on, a parenting message board. She didn't even know my sister, but she read my story. She felt a calling to do this. And so we didn't meet until the morning of the surgery. It was kind of amazing. She was tested. She is a better match for me than my sister was, actually. So since my donation 5 years ago, Pam's doing great. She is living a fantastic life. I follow her on Facebook. We talk occasionally. She's traveling. She's doing great. I have another friend who altruistically donated part of her liver to somebody else. and the two friends are doing fantastic. So altruistic donation is something that can happen. It is something that people will survive and do well with, and I'm so grateful and so thankful that I was here through the pandemic to get my kids through it, get my husband through it. Watching my son go off to college, watching my daughter navigate high school, every day is a gift, and I owe it all to Pam. I do want to point out that although altruistic donation is an option, it's not something most people will do. All you have to do is put that heart on your license, and you too can make the difference in someone's life that I had made in mine. Thank you.
Nice. Brand new volunteer slash doing extremely well. Thank you so much, Chris. Wonderfully shared story. As you point out, registering as an organ donor is separate than living donation, but 80% of individuals who are on the waiting list are waiting for the kidney. Living donation has to be part of the process, and we appreciate you sharing that story and living such a fantastic life with that. Now I want to introduce Liz Sandeman, who's connected to organ donation, but also leads the Lions Club in Massachusetts' efforts to support organ donation. This is a great community organization, not only in this town, not only in this state, not only in this country, but worldwide as well. Liz, thank you so much for your wonderful leadership on this.
Hello, thrilled to be here. I always like to start off by asking a question. If you or a family member, perhaps a parent, grandchild, aunt, needed an organ transplant to save your life or their life, would you hope there was one available? Would it surprise you to know 22 people die every day waiting for an organ transplant, simply because there aren't enough registered organ donors? My sister T was one of those. At the age of 50, she had no medical history. She was a non-smoker, developed a cough that wouldn't go away. At the age of, she had lots of tests, and she was told she had 2 incurable lung diseases. At the age of 52, she was put on the lung transplant waiting list. And T waited 2 years for that life-saving call, and it never came, and at the age of 54, my sister T died. Now, the reason I tell T's story is because T could be any one of us, could be your child, could be your parent. And the way to stop people dying is to get people registered. Now, in the Lions Club, our program dispels myths and encourages registration. And I often hear, "Oh, I'm too old." No, you're not too old, which is a fantastic thing. The oldest liver donor was 95 when he died, and he saved somebody's life. The oldest cornea donor was 107 when she died, and she restored sight to somebody. So age is definitely not a factor. Religion is not a factor. All major religions support or allow you to make that choice. And the great thing is, registering as an organ and tissue donor isn't a medical question. Anybody can register, anybody. So, I'll ask you one more time. If you or a loved one needed an organ transplant to save your life or their life, would you hope someone else had registered for you? And if you say yes, then please register today. If you have an iPhone, it takes less than 30 seconds. It's on the Health app, which is a little red heart that's already on your iPhone. And if you register online, it takes less than a minute. It's super simple. And you could be the hope for somebody else. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Really appreciate that. And thank you for what you and your organization do each and every day and your wonderful advocacy on behalf of your sister. You make her proud, and the information you present is just wonderful. The idea of a cornea donor 107, I mean, that is amazing, really is amazing. Again, we get wonderful support from the state and federal legislators. We do have a citation from both the House and the Senate in Massachusetts, and we're so proud to work in collaboration with Congressman Auchincloss and his wonderful work he does each and every day, and John's here today representing him. So, John, thank you so much for being here today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt, for having me, and thank you, Eileen, for sharing your story, as well as Chris and Mike. I know it means a lot. I'm proud to be here today on behalf of Congressman Jake Auchincloss to recognize the wonderful work that you all do together as volunteers, as a network for New England, Massachusetts, and beyond to our nation. So to recognize April as a National Organ Donation Month, we have presented this certificate of congressional recognition to all of you on behalf of Jake Auchincloss and the Massachusetts 4th District. I'm proud and grateful to be here. Thank you so much for having me. And I echo Matt's words and Chris' words and Alyssa's words. It just takes a few seconds, and if we can always save a life, it's a little red heart in your license, and we're here to save more than our neighbors and friends, save here ourselves as well. So thank you so much, and again, grateful to be here.
Thank you, John. Really appreciate it. And please extend our gratitude to the congressman and the wonderful work he does each and every day. We don't have a lot of asks. Our asks are simple. Our asks are register as an organ and tissue donor. We see cases on a daily basis, and our objective each and every day is to help save lives. So working with the federal government, the state government, and even the local government, getting the word out to get the heart on your license. Linda, you were here with me 4 or 5 years ago at the pandemic. I've lost track of time. But this city is wonderful. This building is wonderful. The leadership in this city is wonderful. And Linda, your knowledge about organ donation, your willingness to be here today is great. So thank you so much for being here today and talking to us. Thanks.
Good morning. I'm the Health and Human Services Commissioner, Linda Walsh. I know Mayor Fuller was looking forward to being here today to shine a light on the importance of organ donation. She asked me to take her place, and I'm so happy to be here. Thank you to Mark and Hattie for bringing us together on this beautiful April day. April is Organ Donation Month, and it's so fitting. April, hope, spring renewal. It's a perfect time to talk about how organ donation literally saves lives. We've heard these really moving stories from the volunteers. I'm happy to be here to hear them, and I applaud you for all that you've gone through, and then to give back and come and talk and tell your story is so powerful. The need is real. Here are some of the statistics. 1 American dies nearly every hour waiting for a transplant, yet a single donor can save as many as 8 lives. More than 100,000 men, women, and children await organ transplants, and every 9 minutes another person is added to the national transplant waiting list. 17 people die each day because the organ they need is not donated in time, and we just heard that story told, and that painful. Memory yet hope springs eternal. 1 organ, eye, and tissue donor can save and heal more than 75 lives. So living in Massachusetts, the home to the pioneering efforts of so many of the world's first organ transplant surgeons, I'm proud to be an organ donor, and I urge others to sign up at the Registry of Motor Vehicles, or apparently on your iPhone. When you renew your driver's license, take that moment, and you too can potentially save lives. Thank you for inviting me today. It was great to meet you all.
Linda, thank you so much. And I want to echo you in thanking Hattie for doing a wonderful job. The organization of this was fantastic. We appreciate the mayor. And as you pointed out, we don't choose April by accident. This is the month of rejuvenation. This is the month of life and that connectivity. Seeing these flowers grow in some ways relates to the idea of life rejuvenated, which is wonderful. Hattie, I don't know if you wanted to say a few words?
I just wanted to, from the House of Representatives, Ruth Balzer could not be here today, but she wanted to send this proclamation along to you and wish that she had, and said put a heart on that license. Thank you.
Wonderful. Message heard. Thank you again. Thank you for sharing the stories. Thank you for the Community Access TV for covering this event. And we encourage people to register as an organ and tissue donor. As Liz said, it is not a healthcare decision. This is the opportunity to provide hope. So we're going to raise the flag and have a fantastic day. Here's to April as Donate Life Month here in Newton. Thanks.